How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I love the plant background. Is this like your new
My
getup
hi.
now?
This is my new getup. I have a corner. I have a chair like in a corner, and there may or may not be chaos all around me. I don't know. Living the COVID dream.
You're not too far away from the rest of us in that case.
Yeah,
Um, Thank you for joining us, Karen. I know that this is probably like our third, fourth time that we put one of these on together.
that's right. We love to talk about DACA. Good to see you, Juan.
Absolutely. Well, it's a little bit darker here on the East Coast. I know that you're enjoying the California sunshine out there, so I wanted to make sure that we just kind of get to the nitty-gritty of things and talk a little bit about everything that's happened. For those joining us today, we're going to be talking about the DACA program and the latest developments. And before I hand it off to my guest here, I just wanted to kind of catch up, folks, with a little bit about how we got to this point here on Thursday, November 19th, 2020, which is over the weekend. Ahead of this week, we heard some news that a court had essentially told the acting Secretary of Homeland Security, Chad Wolf, that he had been acting unlawfully, that his appointment was not valid. Therefore, his actions as acting secretary were deemed, I want to say, unlawfully. Would that be the terminology,
That's the
Karen?
legal term.
All
Unless you
right,
want to say, they were deemed to be a crock.
there
But yes.
there you go. Well, in that case, we'll go with unlawfully. He acted unlawfully when issuing the so-called Wolf Memorandum, which shrunk the scope of the DACA program from 2 years to a single year, among other benefits that curtailed some of the specifics that the Supreme Court outlined when we had that massive victory back over the summer. And essentially, what the Wolf Memo did was essentially curtail a lot of that victory in trying to shrink the scope and impact of that program. Um, Obviously, a lot has been reported from Monday all the way onto Thursday today. Yesterday, Karen had a separate hearing to essentially outline what was coming up next for the program. So far, media has reported that the program is, to some degree or another, expected to resurface in its entirety, but to kind of clarify the minutiae and the details of what all of this means. We brought Karen in, and I'll just hand it off to her as the legal expert to just break it down as to what happened, where we're at, and where we're going.
All right. Thank you so much, Juan. That was super helpful. And it's so great to be with everyone. I see folks joining the chat. Nice to see you. I think, so where are we? DACA recipients, those who love them, those who are eligible for DACA win again. That's where we're at. It's just in case anyone's keeping score. And we certainly are. But after the Supreme Court victory, as we all know, the attempt to end DACA, the first one, was tossed out by the Supreme Court. That should have meant DACA went back to the way it was created in 2012. That didn't happen. It didn't happen because Chad Wolf issued a memo on July 28th. He did really, I think it's four key things in that memo. And we challenged him in court, and we now have a court ruling saying, Chad Wolf, you never had the legal authority to write that memo, and certainly not to do these four things, which we're going to talk about. And what we're waiting for is the court to say all these things have to go away. So let's talk about what the four are, and then we'll talk about when, oh, when will they go away? All right, number one, Juan already mentioned. On July 28th, immediately, no warning at all, USCIS started issuing one-year DACAs and one-year work authorization. Now, we all know it still costs the same amount of money, but they gave half the benefit. So we weren't happy about that at all. Second bad thing from Wolf Memo, totally restricting, nearly eliminating the ability of DACA recipients to apply for, receive, and travel on advance parole. Third, putting in place formally a 150-day requirement that said you can't even try to renew until you're under 150 days from your current DACA expiration. And last, saying we will not accept any first-time DACA applications. And that, of course, means that there have been no new DACA applications accepted since September the 5th, 2017. That's way too long. Okay, so our court said, hey, Chad Wolf, all those four things, you don't have the legal right to do them. And then our court said, hey, lawyers, I'm gonna make all you get up on a video Zoom with me to talk about what we should do about this. So that's what we did. And the questions really are, how long? Exactly when is the court going to issue an order that says USCIS, time is up? All these 4 things, I'm telling you right now, you reset the clock. Okay, and the court asked us to submit some briefs. We go first, we the plaintiffs. We file on Tuesday before Thanksgiving. The government will file on December 1st, right after Thanksgiving. After that time, we are waiting for a court ruling to tell us when these 4 things can go back all at once, one by one. Let's find out. But we are most likely not going to know until December 1st. Okay, Juan, did that make any sense? Hit me up with some questions.
I think it did. I mean, if we, and I say this for folks, again, who may not have watched Karen and I do these lives in the past, I'm a DACA recipient myself, and while I do work at in the front lines of, immigration advocacy, Karen's, at the front, in the front lines of all things legal, court, you name it. And, for her to break all this stuff down is extremely helpful for me. And for some of the people who may have read, potentially a headline that says, the DACA program is restored, and, Chad Wolf is no longer the Secretary of Homeland Security, or his appointment was invalid. I think, when we focus on the specifics here, is that what Karen just outlined was that a lot of the damage that the Wolf memo essentially originally did has now been frozen, and we're pending, we're still holding for another court decision post-Thanksgiving break that's going to allow people to understand when and how they can essentially apply for DACA for the first time, renew for 2 years instead of 1, potentially have the return of the advanced parole, and how all those things are going to come into play. As someone who's an avid consumer of media, I've seen tons of reports that are, obviously, and rightfully so, I would be remiss if I didn't repeat what Karen said, which is that, we won. Time and time again, when dreamers go to court, we essentially keep running up our scoreboard, and the administration continues to double down on their attempts to try to essentially derail the DACA program. So we won. We still quite don't have the guidance from USCIS per the court as to when all these things, new applications, 2-year renewals, advanced parole, and there's a 4th one that I'm missing off the top of my head.
150 days.
150-day guidance of renewals is going to happen. So, Karen, if I'm a DACA recipient and I'm seeing these headlines, right? What should I keep in mind? Should I start getting my paperwork ready? Should I send in my application? Let's start there. If I have not received this benefit and I'm brand new into this orbit.
Cool. And thank you so much, Juan. So first of all, I forgot to say something really important about the court order. There's this thing, it's very fancy. It's called a class action. And what that means is, and in the court order on Saturday, we asked for, as the plaintiffs, and the court ordered a nationwide class of over 1 million people who are either people who have DACA right now or anyone who is eligible to apply who doesn't have it, be considered class members and part of what's before the court. The reason I'm saying this first, when Juan says, what should we do if we have DACA or we want to apply? What I want you to know is, unless you have your own lawsuit in your own name pending somewhere else challenging the Wolf memo, you are actually part of this court case now as a class member. And the court is obligated and empowered to order relief, not only for the named plaintiffs in the Batalla case, but for each of you. And so what I would ask folks to do, we've set up a website. It's called DACAclassaction.org, and you can go there, and we're putting updates on that space. We don't yet have already a sign up where you can enter your information and automatically get emails from us like the minute we get the news from the court and things like that, but we should have that in the coming days. It's DACAclassaction.org.
And I'll put it here in the comments for folks to essentially bookmark that, keep it on your phones, and make sure that you take a look at that. We'll be, before I hand it back to Karen, we'll make sure to keep folks posted as to when exactly the sign-up form will be available so that if you meet the requirement outlined in that website, you can actually sign up for it. So I'm going to post it here right now.
Great. And I see someone put it up from Informed Immigrant, but let's talk about getting your stuff together, right? Because Juan mentioned that too. So if you are someone and you either already consulted a legal service provider before the Wolf memo and you thought, I'm ready to apply, I'm eligible, it's my time, then please do go ahead and get your paperwork ready. If you haven't consulted with someone yet, this is a great time to do that. For first-time applicants out there, and Juan can like validate this, the first time is the hard time. They require more paperwork. There's more stuff you have to show. It's a more challenging form than the renewal. And so, you know, you have to show, for example, multiple years of living in the United States continuously. And of course, that's hard to show when you've been living undocumented. It takes getting together records and things like that. So this is a great time to do those things. And the last thing I'll say, because I saw a question in the chat, is someone asked, wait a minute, what about me? I had a pending application before this whole Wolf memo and they started rejecting things. You are part of the class. And so one of the things that we are asking for, and this will be part of our briefing to the court, is, look, that Wolf memo was never lawful. So it isn't just like the day after December 1st, whenever that comes and the court says, I said reopen the program to 2012. It isn't just going forward, right? It's, well, what about all the unlawful stuff they did back when they rejected people after that July 28th memo, or all the one-year EADs they issued in August or in September. So we're also asking for those to be made legal, which means made back to the 2012 terms.
Great. So I know that, you know, trusting Kara's expertise and everything, I myself have a pending application, and I'm actually pulling up the website here behind me to make sure that I have it and bookmark it. So again, Karen, one more time, tell us the website.
DACAclassaction.org. You can also go to DACAclassaction.com. They will all send you to the same place. See that trick when you buy 2 domain names?
Let me pin that over here because I think I already put the wrong URL in here.
Yeah, DACA class action.
Class action.
That's okay. Yeah, and the reason for that is there are a bunch of DACA lawsuits, because remember how Juan was saying DACA recipients keep winning, Trump administration keeps losing. There are a lot of those, but there's only one that's a certified class.
Perfect. Appreciate you. Karen, should I renew my DACA right now? Say that I expire. There's a question in here about, you know, I expire in February. Should I submit right now? Should I wait until this court case is resolved? What do you tell people who are essentially like coming up in the periphery of expiration?
I think that if you are expiring pretty soon, you can go ahead and submit that. We're feeling extremely hopeful from this court ruling, and you should go ahead and get that in so that the end result, we think and believe, will be that you'll get 2 years instead of 1. But that's if you're close, right? Like if you're a year away, you know, you can wait until after December 1st and see what happens.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much for that. So, you know, there's a new administration coming, you know, we know we just had a presidential election. There's a change in the White House, and the next president of the United States, President-elect Joe Biden, is expected to be sworn in come January. How does that impact a lot of these lawsuits and litigations? I mean, like if he gets sworn in, is the government still going to pursue these charges, or do they magically disappear? How exactly does the legality of that work for somebody who doesn't exactly know the entirety of the judicial system?
Yeah, totally. It's a great question. So I am really looking forward to the Biden-Harris administration being sworn in. I intend, like we all do, to hold them to their word that they will put DACA back to its 2012 terms on their first day in office if it isn't there already. And certainly we hope for this version of our lawsuit that much of the lawsuit will be resolved by that action. Now, things don't just magically go away because, as I mentioned, you know, we're now class counsel to represent everybody who's been impacted by the Wolf memo, everybody who's been impacted by the hanky-panky of the federal government not doing what the Supreme Court told them. And so we will, when the new Biden administration comes in, my opposing counsel will no longer be Trump administration Department of Justice lawyers. It will be Biden-Harris administration Justice Department lawyers, and we hopefully will get to work with them to make sure that all those one-year EADs are two-year EADs. All those rejected apps are accepted and prioritized and processed quickly. But there is this matter of Judge Hainan. Juan, should we talk about that?
Yeah, I think before we switch over to I'll call him our arch nemesis in here because of the challenges that he has levied against immigrants over the past number of years. But with that change in administration, right? And again, for those of you who may have been joining or watching, closer to where we are, 18 minutes past the hour, we're obviously talking about the DACA program and essentially the latest developments since the past court hearing yesterday on essentially what will happen to the Wolf Memo, what will happen to renewals switching back from 1 year to potentially 2 years, what will happen to new applications with Karen Tumlin here. And I think one of the main things that people consistently ask in every single live that we do is this matter of advance parole. Will advance parole be restored? And we had, the last time that you and I met, I think it was like right after the Supreme Court decision, and people had a lot of questions about when is advance parole going to happen again? Is it safe and whatnot? I think part of the question here becomes, will advance parole be a safer, and this is outside of the reality that we live in a current pandemic with COVID-19, but will it be safer to travel under a Biden-Harris administration should advance parole be reinstated and, hopefully, this pandemic blows over?
Definitely. I would feel better as an attorney advising folks that traveling on your advance parole and returning to the country at a port of entry, whether it's a land border or an air border, will be safer after January 20th when we have a different administration in charge. And that's exciting. And I would remind folks that advance parole, if you haven't done that before, is a two-step process, right? So you have to submit the application and apply, get granted, and then you travel. So, this is still a great time to look into what your options are, right? Whether your travel is for educational purposes and you want to look into a study abroad program or a learning program, when could that happen? How does it fit with COVID restrictions so that you can time out these two steps, or if it's to see your loved ones and your family members.
Not to mention there's an added fee attached to that as well, isn't there?
That's
potentially.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Great. So again, just to kind of recap again on the questions, I see here, should I hold my application if I'm about to renew? Karen just mentioned as to whether or not, that's up to you. We'll find out about the new applications. We'll find out about the 150 days. We'll find out about advanced parole. We'll find out about the 2-year renewal come December 1st. But if you're close to expiration and some other questions essentially signal to come the February of next year, 2021, you should really start gathering your paperwork right now and essentially making a plan on how you're going to file, and whether you file tomorrow or whether you file December 1st after we get news from the court, completely and entirely up to you. I know that there's a holiday break in between now and then, so we'll leave it to your best judgment, but also make sure that you consult a trusted legal representative in your community and don't get scammed by a notario or any sort of other predatory figure that may be trying to sell you bad information. So that being said, Judge Hainan. Who is Judge Hainan? Remind us one more time and remind us the significance of what exactly, why he looms so large over a lot of the things that are coming up.
Absolutely, and grateful for the folks at Informed Immigrant who are also sharing mental health resources in the chat. Judge Hainan makes me take deep breaths. And I don't know him, of course, he's your honor to me, but Judge Hainan is a judge in the Southern District of Texas. The reason why many of us know him or are familiar with his name is if you rewind to the DACA program that we all very much wanted for parents of U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents, he is the judge who blocked that from going into place when Texas and many other states sued to end that program. So if you fast forward a few years, of course, it was the state of Texas who threatened the Trump administration, and they said, end DACA or we're going to sue you again in the same courtroom where we sued you on DACA. And even though the Trump administration did end DACA or tried to, because they didn't win, Texas went forward with their lawsuit. That's been going on for a long time. And I got to give a shout out to the sheroes and heroes over at MALDEF, the Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund, who've been doing a brilliant job, along with the state of New Jersey, representing DACA litigants and DACA individuals in that courtroom. But it's kind of towards the end of its court life. And we have a hearing with Judge Hainan on December 22nd. And that there's an expectation that there will be a ruling from him shortly thereafter on whether or not he believes DACA is legal and needs to be stopped. And the reason why that makes us really nervous is he's already said in an earlier court opinion that he thinks DACA is not lawful, right? So that is a bit of uncertainty of what happens. Will he find it to be unlawful and order that it ends? Even though he hasn't done that before, now towards the end of this litigation, will he? And what impact will that have on our court case and on the Biden administration?
Absolutely. So there's definitely a twist in here that, although not unexpected, given the ferocity that we've encountered over the past 4 years of the Donald Trump administration against the DACA program, that, we still have certainly some challenges to look ahead in the horizon. So Karen, in terms of timeline, can you just briefly walk us through, like, we heard about the class act, the potential class action and everything that's developing out there in terms of the work that you're spearheading in your lawsuit, and we expect an update from the court on December 1st. When it comes to Judge Hainan and what MALDEF is leading down there in Texas, when, should we circle a date on the calendar? Are we still kind of like TBD mode?
Sure. So, okay, here's the recap of dates. So everybody hopefully has a little bit of a break next week for good food and COVID safe environment. December 1st is when briefing is completed in the class action lawsuit. We hope to have an order from our judge shortly thereafter. December 22nd is the hearing before Judge Hainan in MALDEF's case. And so we'll be able to read some tea leaves. How'd it go? What did he say? But we don't expect a ruling that day. We expect a ruling sometime thereafter, but we know that's awfully deep in the holiday season. So exactly when it comes, we don't know. And then the next date we're looking at is January 20th, the inauguration, and the promises that Biden and Harris have made to protect the DACA program, DACA recipients, and those who are eligible. Those are the major dates I'm watching: December 1, December 22, January 20th.
Perfect. I think that's a great breakdown there. I'm just making some notes actually in my personal calendar to make sure to watch out for those as well, to make sure that, we continue to make note here with the Informed Immigrant team of everything that comes up in there. Karen has been a consistent collaborator, and we're extremely thankful for her and her time, and obviously her fearlessness in the in the face of every single horrific thing that we have witnessed from the Trump administration over the past 4 years. Karen, we're coming up here. We're very close to the end of our program. I know that there's a bunch of questions that we have not gone through. So in terms of like a rapid response manner here, I paid for my DACA and I got back a 1-year card. What happens if the Wolf memo gets invalidated? What should I do? Do I switch it for a 2-year? Do I stick to 1 year? What exactly happens there?
Okay, all of you who got 1-year EADs, we really, really want to hear from you. We want you to go to that DACAclassaction.org website that's in the chat, pinned in the chat right now. We don't have it up today, but in like a day or two, we're going to have a form where you can type in your information. It comes to us private and secure, and we want all the stuff: your name, when you got that 1 year, when it expires, because we intend to go to the court and say, these are our class members. They are before you, Your Honor. It was never legal to give them 1 year. We want 2 years. We want it now. We also want 40 acres and a mule.
We'll have to split those across the 52 people who are joining us here right now. A couple of the things in here that are coming up. Any talks about pathway to citizenship from DACA, from the Biden-Harris administration? While we're talking about specifically about the DACA program, and I, try not to veer us from the topic of conversation or hypotheticals, is essentially important to remind ourselves that the President-elect Biden has made a promise to introduce a an immigration reform package. There's some echo in here. An immigration reform package within the first 100 days of his administration. Anything that comes before that, right, anything that comes out of the administration in regards to that immigration reform package has to go through Congress. And it definitely will essentially see what the legal process is through there, or the legislative process, I should say, and how that fares not just through the House, but also the Senate before reaching back out into the president's desk. So we'll definitely have to dust off, our civics textbooks from 7th or 8th grade back in the day. And of course, we'll bring you the latest in here, not just through Informed Immigrant, but also from the Justice Action Center, which is where Karen essentially formulates all her plans and lawsuits and goes out and brandishes her sword before the court to make sure that she keeps us informed, but also safe, and in terms of everything that has to do with immigration in DACA. Back to just a couple more in here before we wrap up, Karen. We've gone over the class action lawsuit. Again, for those of you who are asking the benefits in here, DACAclassaction.org. Make sure you take a look at that. There will be a form back up on that website to make sure that if you've got a 1-year EAD, we're able to rectify that before the court and hopefully get you a 2-year as soon as possible. We talked about advanced parole. December 1st, we'll find out the next steps, as to what exactly will happen with that. There's a couple of other things in here. I'm a DACA recipient and lost my work permit that expires in February 2021. What do I have to do? That expires in February 2021 and you lost it. Wow, that's a very unique situation. Do you renew? Do you get a new one?
You should be able to get a replacement, right?
Okay.
So you should be able to, so you may need to do an InfoPass appointment. And right, because so obviously your DACA still valid, you just don't have the EAD in your hot hands. So they've got copies of that, they have records of it, you should ask for it, but Juan is right. You're awfully close to expiration. So go ahead and do the math and see, are you under 150 days now? If so, I would also prepare the renewal and get it in. Here's the deal with renewals, right? You don't want to get rejected. So right now they have the 150-day rule in place. We think that will be, fingers crossed, eliminated soon. But if you're under 150 days before you expire, go ahead and get that in, because it's going to take them a while to process it. And by the time they process you, hopefully we have everything straightened out and you're back to getting a 2-year. But you want to go ahead and get that submitted.
Amazing. Thank you for that. All right, we have another one coming in here. There are 85 of us who submitted advanced parole applications for a study abroad program. The DACA recipient said to start on December 15th that we have not received any update. The reason why you may not have received any update on your advanced parole applications because the government's currently, and Karen can correct me in here, is not accepting any sort of advanced parole applications under the Wolf Memorandum that this week was deemed unlawfully granted. So we'll have to wait based on our conversation here until December 1st to find out an update.
When did they say the program was, the 85 people who submitted?
Let me see here. There's a question in here. I'll put it up.
Okay, 85 has submitted for study abroad program. DACA recipients set to how to make it bigger. Anyway, I think that what's going on is they're holding them because they don't know what's happening with the court yet. And if they basically said advanced parole, you can apply, but we'll only grant it in extraordinary circumstances. And because they don't have to grant it for you yet, if the study abroad program is still a little bit in the future, they're probably sitting tight until they see if they have to get rid of that restriction, in which case you should be processed. But either way, all 85 of you should go to that DACAclassaction.org website, because there will be a place to say, I submitted my advanced parole and what happened to it. And that will allow us on your behalf to say to the Department of Justice, what are you doing with these 85 people? And to do our job, which is to follow up on every single person in this situation.
Amazing. So individual ideal XZ, make sure you go to that website.
Next month. Okay.
Make sure you go to that website, DACAclassaction.org, and make sure that you check back between tomorrow or the following couple of days to make sure that you fill out that form. Karen wants to hear from you. All your information is kept safe, which is why we're making sure that those last tweaks to our website are being made so that no information is out there publicly.
Did you see the question about the 31, the age limit for DACA, Juan?
No, but let me see here. Is there an age limit to cut off to apply for DACA? I was here before the age of 31, but I'm about to turn 31 this month. Happy birthday. So I was curious to see if I could still apply. Karen, I'll let you take it away, but my understanding is that we're still waiting for the December 1st to determine whether or not new applications are going to be accepted.
If that's a new application, that's right. But if the question is about, will I be too old? You're not too old if you were the right age to meet the qualifications of the 2012 memo. It doesn't matter if you keep getting birthdays. All DACA recipients keep getting older. This is a fact of life. So that wouldn't be a barrier. But if you've never had DACA before, get everything together, sit tight till December 1st, and then see if it's go time for you to send that in.
31, man, you're going to be as old as I am. And that means I'm an older DACA recipient as well. There we go. All right, we're cutting it close to our 35-minute mark, which means we stayed here a little bit longer than expected. For folks who are still here watching us, I encourage you to do 3 things. 1, follow Karen and all the updates at the Justice Action Center. They're an incredible resource. You see Karen here as much as you possibly can. Give us time to bring you and me and everyone else the latest. So make sure you go out there and make sure you follow them. They have a Twitter, they have an Instagram, they have a Facebook. Like him, love them, support Karen's work. Number 2, I want you to make sure that you go ahead and click on that website, DACAclassaction.org. Bookmark it. If you have a 1-year DACA, if you have a pending application, if you have an advanced parole application that you submitted, just like the previous commenter left in there, go ahead and fill out that form. Leave your detailed information. All information will be kept confidential and secure to make sure that Karen can go before the court and tell the judge, these are the people that are being hurt by this unlawful memo. We need this to be reverted as soon as possible. And then the last thing I want you to do is that if we did not, for whatever reason, get to your question, is make sure you drop a comment on this broadcast, DM us, send us a message. We'll be happy to make sure that if we don't have the answer, point you to the resource where you can find the answer for yourself. So again, thank you so much for being part of this broadcast. And to Karen, as always, my undying gratitude for everything that she does every single day for us. I know it's definitely not easy for folks, right now with COVID-19, the uncertainty of the last, hoorah of the Trump administration over the next couple of weeks. But I'm always thankful to people like Karen who are out there, regardless of what's going on in the world, they're putting the best foot forward and making sure that people hear us and hear us loudly.
So nice to be with you, Juan. I'm so grateful for you and all your work and leadership. Have a beautiful time off, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoy the holiday break. If you have one, everyone, we'll be sure to bring you the latest with Karen the next time we hear something. Again, December 1st, we expect to hear back from the court in Karen's case as to the future of the DACA program in regards to 2-year renewals, new applications, advanced parole, 150-day renewal guidance. December 22nd, we expect to find there will be a hearing in Judge Hanen's court in a separate lawsuit on DACA. We don't expect to find out a ruling, but there will be a hearing that day. Make sure you pay attention to everything that MALDEF is also doing as well. We'll keep an eye out for you and bring you the latest should anything happen. And then last but certainly not least, there's a change in administration. President-elect Joe Biden is expected to take over the Trump administration on January 20th. So a lot of these things that you are seeing right now, hopefully will go away with just time, and that time is coming. So again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you to Karen and Justice Action Center. We'll see you next time.
Bye, Juan. Thank you.
Bye.